Hey, Alpha fam, welcome back to another episode of Alpha Commission. Today on Alpha Commission, of course, we're going to go over the just incredibly mixed red and green on the crypto charts as we're seeing both incredible pullbacks in the last 12 hours and a nice little pump in the last couple hours. So, really, just that high volatility kind of up and down, just kind of whipsaw action is continuing to take the market. And a lot of these coins, such as XRP, are taking advantage of it, Algo taking advantage of it, but others are just getting hammered. And of course, confidence in the market is getting a little bit shaken, especially as we take a look at stocks, which are just completely blood red today. I mean, there's just blood in the in Wall Street, right? And so, guys, like this isn't just the United States; it's also globally. You can see that we are in a pretty dire situation globally, and that as the days go by, the appearance of a possible global economic recession, a global financial crisis, does seem to be rearing its ugly head. And I swear, guys, like we are breaking all of the metrics that I established as conditions. Right? Conditions that would later need to be confirmed for the possibility of calls to the downside, and we are just hitting condition after condition after condition. And even if crypto is holding relatively well for 1 or 2 days, guys, like that can be a show, okay? Like this is a very low liquidity environment. I mean, a lot of whales, a lot of exchanges can pump these things up, against the trend in the bigger market. And that doesn't mean we've decoupled, quote unquote, decoupled from the stock market. We haven't decoupled anything. Like people should stop using that term. If the dollar continues to press up, if volatility continues to skyrocket, and if stocks continue to drop the way that they have, we are going to see Bitcoin and the rest of crypto follow it down, not just 20% like what I was projecting for the stock market 10% ago, right? But probably something more like 40% to 60%. So guys, just have your just have your mentality prepared for the possibility of what could come up in 2023, or even by the end of this year at the rate at which things are going. Guys, we did have just a little powwow with Jerome Powell today, where about 20 people just came in to complain about stuff in a very friendly way, and of course, he probably just fell asleep mentally during the entire thing because I did, and so really this was totally a non-event. This is the age of internet, guys. Like, 20 people coming into a room to talk about like their particular needs. I mean, there's millions of voices, there's hundreds of millions of voices, there's billions of voices that need to be heard. And Powell can read a report. I'm sure that's just like a show for a TV. Extremely boring. We did get some PMI data. It is fairly nominal, just a little bit of this pump in the PMI S&P US services. So we can get into that at a later time. Just want to make a quick kind of like a charting update. So we do see the overall setup on Bitcoin's macro structure, right? And as I pointed out, we do have this head and shoulders, which could drop us down easily to 15,500 to 15,000, right? Just in that neighborhood, just by this structure alone. Of course, over the last year, I have been your friendly guide, just holding your hand as we slowly step down the ladder, to the measured move of this head and shoulders, which these formations, they don't tend to lie when they happen on Bitcoin. They tend to come, they tend to come true. So guys, if you ever see those macro structures, if you see these big bear flags, believe them, believe them. And what do we have going on over here? Of course, we have additional bear flags, which we've been talking about for several episodes, which do lead us down here. You got a little bit of this kind of like a broadening wedge, or like head and shoulders, which some guys might be talking about, and that's cool. We can talk about those formations, but overall, you can pretty much just consider this to be basically a rectangle, okay? And for a rectangle, you can pretty much just take the measured move of the height of it. Doesn't matter what pattern you're seeing in here. We're basically talking about just channel math. And so you take the measured move down, and you could see, if you're going to be conservative, yeah, you could see something to like, 14,500. And then if you're kind of generous, you can see something all the way down to 12,000. And so, guys, that range that I've been talking about, right, with the 14,000, that 14,500 to about $12,000 range, that's pretty legit. So I'm going to keep that one highlighted as well, not just the measured move of the head and shoulders. I've been trying to keep the chart just a little bit cleaner, and so I did want to just keep this green on the screen of a potential target, and then of course we also have this layer down here, and then of course you guys know my favorite, which is filling in the CME gaps down here. So of course I've got my purple CME gaps on the chart as well. If we do just continue to press down, then I do think that we could go as low as 7,000 to 10,000 as kind of a stretch goal. And we've hit this trend so many times that I really do believe that 7,000 is within range. And people who say, "Oh, everyone's targeting 10,000, we'll never get to 10,000," guys, like people are targeting like just 17,000. They're targeting 16,000. They're targeting 14,000. They're targeting 12,000. Yes, a lot of people are targeting 10,000 because you have a lot of support there. You have a CME gap in the neighborhood, right? And so 11,000, 9,000, those are good areas to be targeting. But then you also have this trend on the downside, which could be 7,000, right? Something like that. And so, guys, like we don't just have to front run the bottom of the market. We can actually overshoot the bottom of the market in some type of a traumatic, global financial crisis. And so, if you just think that, oh, we'll never reach 10,000 because the market's not going to go with the number that the majority of people are targeting, well, don't forget, like the market can also target a number under that value. It doesn't have to target a number above the value. It can target under. There are conditions in the world where people do not want to be accumulating so fast. They prefer to wait for, confirmations of a turnaround in a market, and that can actually result to overshooting a mark, not just front running a mark, right? Like you assume like everyone's going to be super greedy at 14,000 just because everyone's targeting 10,000, but maybe that's not true. Maybe they're thinking, oh, 10,000, and then, oh, the market looks really bad. Let's say this is late 2022 or early 2023, and just we're having like a severe financial crisis in the market, or something else is going on, right? And then the market could say, you know what, I'd rather have my money in the bank and only get in at a confirmation. And then the market actually undershoots the goal. It's not as common as front running, but it does happen. So just to be aware that these markets can go lower than you'd think. And, there is quite a panic that sets in there. And that is how you get rid of old. Um, Holders. You shake old holders out of the market by basically undershooting the mark. We're already doing that by breaking the previous all-time high. Like you got a lot of people concerned there. And then if we go down to 14,000, you're gonna basically have everyone on the past cycle just getting shook out, except for the strongest diamond hands. And then you dip into the previous cycle, and you're guaranteed to have just like old counts like opening up and selling their Bitcoin out of just panic, okay? Because they have only seen up only. They have never seen a double top and like a one of these kind of tech cycle moments on the macro, on the super cycle, stocks, commodities, super cycle retracements, which could be quite damaging. Guys, let's go ahead and just zoom in here on the 4 hour, because I think things are moving quite quickly on Bitcoin. And as you can see, yesterday I was saying like, don't be a perma bull. Like people are getting super bullish. They thought like we were just gonna, skyrocket out of here. And what happened is like we had a huge drop. Okay. One thing that we are doing is showing a little bit of strength, and that we didn't reach the bottom of this channel, right? Like this was an easy target. There's liquidity down here, right? Where we basically had these candle closes, and then we have like a candle wick down here. So, anywhere in this area is still liquidity to be grabbed. If we do have another drop down, and if the market is bullish, and then we start to kind of wedge up, still the confirmation that I have is this green box. I need to see us above 19,900. I need to see us above 19,800 by the end of today. By the end of today, guys, I need to see us above 19,800. Otherwise, we're going to set, some volatility chain reactions into effect, and the bias is going to be to the downside. Okay, like we have our 2-day volatility. It is going to be entering some type of an expansion mode, right? Let's go ahead and go over to the CME chart, and you can see we're already expanding to the downside. I mean, contracting to the downside on the CME chart, but the 24/7 exchange is also going to be choosing its direction pretty soon. And in order to have the stocks in the stoke in the stochastic, right, in a positive momentum orientation, we need to get over, right, get over that $19,800 point. Otherwise, in order to have any type of momentum to the upside, otherwise we're probably going to be pointed down. And as you can see right now, actually Bitcoin is in a fairly reasonable position to capture its daily stokes, which will be closing in 36 minutes. So in 36 minutes, I mean, we need to have a minimum of sitting on top of 19,400 and let's just say 30. And then honestly, if you want to be macro bullish or like have any chance of breaking through this downtrend, you need to be getting above 19,800 in the next 35 minutes. But what do we have here? We have our macro force field to the downside, right? We have this huge downtrend, rejected, 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 front run, rejected, 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 rejected. Okay, like this has just been a chain reaction of rejections every time we get to this yellow kind of force field zone, this kind of danger zone that I have on the map here. And what are we doing right now? We're hitting that double resistance. Same thing as what I was whining about yesterday, right? Like, I was saying, don't be bullish right here. We're going to get smacked down. And look, we're doing it again. You are seeing some resistance. Now, we do have a little bit of extra strength here compared to this weird whipsaw action. The market may be attempting to build in some bullishness, largely, I think, thanks to XRP. Sometimes when you have a major high cap like this, just running up 50% like out of nowhere. I mean, of course, you can watch my XRP episode. Of course, that does have like a completely logical explanation of why these things are happening, how you could have forecasted it, how you could have gotten in on it, and how you can still get in on it if we do have a retracement. But that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying that if a high cap like this runs up, it can actually pull Bitcoin up with it a little bit, as it does boost the confidence of those moon boys in the market who just want to ignore the fact that we have a year-long downtrend that doesn't seem to be, in any danger of being broken, as Jerome Powell, as the Federal Reserve, just kind of indicate that they are going to get harder and harder on this market. But again, I don't want to be a perma bear, so we are going to just watch these levels. If we can overcome this channel line that I've had marked out for probably a week or so now, right? If we can get on top of that, right, on top of a 19,400 in order to fulfill the daily Stokes and our momentum zone for the day, then we can try to chop through this rejection zone, this danger zone, right? This basically just a place where we just get smashed down every time we enter it. We can attempt to try to get above 19,800, wedge ourselves in here, and then hope and pray that the momentum, or pardon me, that the volatility in the market pops us to the upside with all that low liquidity, and then that's also going to put us into a pretty generous position for getting in between the 9 and the 21 on the weekly on Bitcoin. But again, like guys, like in order to be macro bullish, I really need to see us above 25,000. This has been my position for quite a while now, and so guys, like we're really just looking between these two levels. Like, do we lose 18,000 500? Do we gain above 25,000, right? uh you know Basically, if we lose 18,000, if we lose 17,500, it's almost guaranteed, game over to these lower levels. And if we get above 25,000, then, game's on, like for sure. Like we will have an uptrend, higher, low, high, higher low, higher high. That's it. Will be an uptrend if we can do that. Do I think that's likely? No, I don't think it's likely. First of all, I don't think that we are going to capture that momentum for the 2-day volatility within the next half an hour. And so that's going to be working against us. I do see us very easily, holding on for another day if we can capture that 19,400. And I'm watching this live. So for me, this is a really important moment. Like we either get smacked down or, we are going to fight the no man's land over here, right? The demilitarized zone where if Bitcoin brings its weapons, I mean, this resistance is just going to fight back as hard as it can and potentially just, send Bitcoin to hell. We see what happens when Bitcoin challenges this line, just sent to hell, just sent to hell, right? Just sent to hell, sent to hell, sent to hell, right? See you in hell, right? Like that's what happens. And so, guys, like we are in that danger zone. 30 minutes to go. Don't need to beat a dead horse too much, but our next kind of big fib target is this 786, and then you can see that the 886 actually goes along with one of these teeny tiny little CME gaps down here, and so you know, like this full range is definitely in play. And then, this would be kind of a very greedy stretch goal for me to get the CME gap down here. But I'll just keep it on the chart because that's pretty realistic. Guys, in terms of the CME chart, it's a little bit of a different picture here. For the daily, you actually have to be above 19,455 as a close. But as you can see, CME already closed for the day. So for the professional exchanges, CME already lost its daily momentum, and it's not going to be getting its 2-day, guys. Like let's see what the 2-day requirement was here. 20,500, right? 20,500, and we are just nowhere near where it needed to be for the CME 2-day. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but this weekend could be wild. It could potentially dump us down, right? Um, Oops, didn't mean to move that. I do have my fractal, and we look, guys, we're just completely conforming to this fractal so far. So, are we going to lose like that? On CME, are we going to lose that 18,500? And by the way, CME is where I get that 18,500 number from. In case you're wondering, when we're over at the 24/7 exchange, of course, we have that wick down to 17,500. But on CME, the professional exchanges, we never had that wick. Okay. So really, the line in the sand is, this kind of, 18,500 number. Like you really don't want to lose that. And we've already broken under there. You see this wick right here? Like we've already broken under it. And once you break an important line on, stocks, the professional exchanges, like you tend to continue to break down over time, even if you have some fake outs to the upside. And so let's go ahead and jump into stocks to see if something like a parallel of that is happening on stocks. And look, you can see, guys, like this was the critical support that we had to hold. Remember, I was telling you guys, like we had to hold. Let me go to a 4 hour so we can see some price action. We had to hold, oops, up here. Sorry, 3,800. Man, for weeks, I've been telling you 3,800 is the line in the sand. If we don't hold 3,800, then we are going to break down here. We're probably going to test this diagonal. Look how beautifully we retested and retested and retested 3 times, right? If you count the original, then 4 times. Like we played around with this line in order to make sure that we were breaking down. And guys, what happened? The market finally decided it's breaking down. And where did it go to? Precisely to the numbers that I suggested, right? Which is, of course, that CME gap right here. Look at that. Candle closures perfectly on the CME gap. Guys, there's such a deep sense of satisfaction. Boom, right? Boom. And then we got, of course, the green line that I said would be like this is basically like your hopium addicts like last line in the sand that you could get some type of a bounce off of there. We actually just cut through it like a hot knife through butter. We are revisiting it, so again, like I had this on there for a reason. It is a significant point. If we can chop back up on top of it, then maybe we can retest like on a higher time frame, because this all happened pretty fast. Maybe on a higher time frame we can retest these higher levels. But guys, like this thing just is way, 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 way beyond its momentum. So like, there's no chance. There's no chance. Where's its a Stoke? Oh, its Stoke is actually right here at the top of the green line. So yeah, I mean, if again, like if we got on top of that, like yeah, even the Stokes says it. Like if we get on top of that, then yeah, we can pop up. But what's really going to happen is if we do that, yeah, there's going to be some bullishness in the market, but like we already broke down from this. Like, do you expect another bull run? I mean, like we're breaking critical levels here, guys. And what is the projection that I have, right? This is the S&P. Like guys, like the golden pocket would be an obvious zone, duh, right? Like duh, like you're gonna go down to this 3,200 to 3,000, and that's just, I mean, this is basically our fate at this point. I mean, I don't want to say it like a call per se. We still have a couple bosses to defeat, but do you see how the stock market moves? Okay, do you guys understand like how like these structures form? Okay, look at this crazy wedge that we have, guys. We have this macro wedge, and look at this: touch, touch, touch. You really think we're not going to touch this? Like if there's a global financial crisis, like every little crisis we touch this line. This is our crisis line. Like guys, we could have a major stock market collapse, and we're not even close to it being done. Like, the summer rally prayer, right, where we all were praying to God that this thing stops, was right up here, right? And that could have been the chance, right? That could have been the chance, like basically off the 382, like okay, like let's try. But guess what? We broke through that, right? We're headed to the point 0.5. We're headed to the golden pocket, which is a pretty logical zone. If we just have like a medium recession, like, okay, like that's pretty reasonable. We have a global financial crisis, and guys, like we could see the bottom of this chart. Now, S&P makes it look pretty dramatic, but on Nasdaq, I mean, and guys, I've been talking to you about this stuff for months and months, guys, for months. Look at this, guys. Like even back here, I was projecting we ain't going up there. We're probably doing a 20% to 25% drop. And look, guys, like that was 10% ago, okay? Like how much have we dropped since then? 10%, okay? And so like I said, we're going to drop like at least 20 to 25%, you know? And we're already halfway there. We're already halfway there. Like, what do you think is going to happen? Like, all these knuckleheads thinking that we're going to go on a bull run. Okay, yeah, sure, guys. Like, do you see this downtrend that we're on? Okay, do you see this path? Do you see this big formation? Well, the Nasdaq, I mean, bless its heart. I mean, it has a higher, it has a better structure than the S&P. So, hopefully we can just get down to like this green, box, and 20 to 25% down, like at max, like from this previous point. Or, worst case, maybe this blue box that I have kind of marked out here. It's really hard to say. I mean, if the S&P really just shits the bed, I mean, this thing could also just look really ugly. But I mean, this is the hopium, right? This is the hopium for the bad case. Okay, like we catch this, and then we can start putting in our bottoming structure. But guys, 20% down, right, on the Nasdaq, right, can be like 40% down on crypto. So and then if the S&P falls 20 to whatever percent, like let's just do a little measure here, right? Let's see, that would be, yeah, that'd be 20%. Okay, like, yeah, 20%. Like if the S&P falls 20%, then Bitcoin could fall up to, like anywhere between 40 to 60%. And if this thing falls all the way down here, then that could be 50%. So Bitcoin could fall 100 to 150%. Obviously, Bitcoin's going to decouple in that type of financial global financial crisis scenario. It would have to be traded as its own asset at that point. And a global financial crisis could actually be the first time, like the first thing that ever forces Bitcoin and crypto to be its own asset class, right? Like and not just trade along with the stock market or just trade along with minor and exchange manipulations, but to really be its own man. Like a global financial crisis could be the thing that decouples Bitcoin from the stock market. But you know, until we get there, like if we cross this green line, if we cross this blue line, like until we get there, like Bitcoin's just going to go along with the stock market, okay? Because just everyone is trading all of their risk on assets essentially the same way, right? Like, and they're just looking at the differences, like does this produce dividends? Oh, crypto does not produce dividends. So why would I want crypto? Like if I'm going to have a risk on asset, wouldn't I prefer one that has dividends, like that pays dividends? At least if the price goes down, I still get dividends, right? Or wouldn't I prefer have bonds like which are actually going up, right? As opposed to crypto, which is just going down? Or what about just having my dollars and waiting for a bottom structure to confirm, right? Like everyone's going to be treating risk on assets pretty much the same, right? And they're just going to be looking for the extra perks, right? And so until like the stock market bottoms, until the Federal Reserve makes a macro pivot, right? Until we have like the yin and the yang of the recession and inflation like switches over to full recession mode, and the inflation isn't the concern anymore, like until we get out of this stagflation scenario, because we were in inflation and now we're in stagflation, and the next thing is recession. And then if recession gets extreme, then it's global financial crisis, right? And so we are in stagflation now. Like that's the new era that we're in post summer, right? This fall to winter is going to be about stagflation. And then 2023 is going to be about recession. And then the second half of 2023, like that could be global financial crisis territory. So we'll deal with that like when we come to it. But, assuming that we don't go into like a death spiral in the world, then, there is some hopium on some of these charts, that we don't go too far and that we do catch ourselves, okay? And so maybe there's another leg down, or maybe there could be like two legs down, you know on crypto as well, okay? And I guess everything could just go perfect from here, guys, but I'm just not seeing it. I don't believe that. And so any of these pumps, I just see them as kind of like scam pumps, right? Like we have that long-term downtrend, right? I mean, we have basically a force field just protecting us. And something that could happen, like people don't really talk about this, but something that could happen is often in bearish scenarios, you have the case where you can actually like break out of a downtrend, right? Like maybe do something like that, maybe get rejected at, like one of these key levels, like 25, and then you actually come down and you retest the downtrend at a lower level, right? And that could be what gives us that 20 to 60% decline in Bitcoin, is if there's kind of like a scam pump, like a scam breakout, and then we retest at a lower level. Okay, so be on the lookout for this type of thing too, because that could easily happen and that would fall within 2022. And I do project that the bottom of the stock market is probably going to come by the end of 2022, maybe Q1 2023. And then by summer 2023 we're going to have like a confirmation, right? Like maybe we could have a rally or something like that and then confirm the bottom. But guys, like these are just hypotheses, okay? So be open-minded to that breakout, but just to be also open-minded that it might be a fake out before stocks just fall off a cliff. And if again, like guys, I'll just show you the big picture on stocks, and so you can see just how ugly it is. And do you really think in a recession, like the current valuations of stocks, which are valued at like the height of the market, like they still have the valuations as at the height of the market, right? Their P over E ratios are still way overpriced. And guys, they are way overpriced, okay? Like the US stocks, like they are way overpriced compared to the rest of the world, which have been marked down considerably in their P over E ratios, okay? Profit over earnings ratios. And so why do American stocks get some special treatment? Okay, like is there anything special about you earning your money here or there? Okay, like this is just because people see that historically since like World War II, American stocks have had stronger resilience, but now American stocks are literally just in the middle of the pack. Okay, they're just in the middle. And I'll go into that in maybe a macro episode later on, but guys, there's no reason for American stocks to have special treatment in terms of their P over E ratios. And so profit over earnings for American stocks has to get readjusted at some point, and it could very easily take the market down another 20%. So this is very perilous. This is an ugly structure. This was a relief rally on a kind of blow off top on the market, right? You see that? Blow off top, and then kind of a relief rally, dead cat bounce, something like that. And there's room to go down. You see my point, okay? And even if we take the generous one of the Nasdaq, which looks a bit friendlier, okay, like it doesn't give you quite the same heart attack when you look at it, right? Like it still looks pretty bad, okay? Like you could still see like, oh, like yeah, we're probably not bottomed yet, guys. Like we're just like using this tiny little shelf right here. We're probably not bottomed yet. And some of these big names, okay, it's always the case, guys. It's always the case in every recession. I know a lot of you guys have never really like thought about a recession before or like economically analyzed a recession before, but typically speaking, the big names, they don't get marked down until the very end of it, okay? Like yeah, the little guys and like crypto and like all the just small players, like they get smacked down hard in the beginning, and then you get the medium ones, right? You can think about it like crypto like a mid cap and high cap and that stuff, but for stocks, okay? And then like the true like the true high caps and the market leaders that hold up the market, they go last. And so that's why you see these huge capitulations in the market at the end, because when the big companies finally get reassessed to the downside after the rest of the market is just like weighing, like they can't hold up the rest of the market by themselves, you know when once the big guys collapse, you see that final drop that's just the biggest, and the most disgusting drop, and we haven't had that yet. Okay, we haven't had that yet. I think it's going to come up. Maybe by the grace of God, something could save this market. I don't see it happening. So any pump until then, I just see it as a scam pump. I just see it as a fool's rally. I just see it as, call it whatever you want. Hopium, call it, you know, politics season, call it summer relief rallies, call it whatever you want. I just, you understand my perspective, okay? Like I'm going to be on the side of risk management, on the side of protecting my capital, on the side of conservatively trying to figure out when the market is a good price compared to the rest of the world, guys, the rest of the world, right? There's also the rest of the world. It's not just US stocks. Like people who are now thinking about putting their money into stocks that have good values, like is this a good value to buy back in? They're looking, right? They're looking at like India and China and all these third world countries and all this stuff, and they're seeing that some of these emerging markets are a better play than the United States. And so money's not going to come into the United States right away. It's more likely to go into like certain emerging markets or wherever those stocks got hit the hardest first. okay, and have reached reasonable P over E ratios, okay? Like a lot of these high caps in the US stock market, they have yet to come down. They have yet to even begin to play out their macro head and shoulders, right? The way that Bitcoin had its, right? Like some of these high caps in the market, like they haven't even, like they are just like here, okay? But a lot of them are going to come down to either their golden pocket or to their 786 or their 886. And when those big stocks, when those big names, okay, like those big players, when they start their journey down, right, which is going to be what the rest of 2022 is about, which is going to be what at least the next half of 2023 is about, then that's going to be the final straw in the market. Okay, that's going to be the thing that breaks the camel's back, and that could definitely drag crypto down another level or two. Okay, like even though we've already gone down pretty far, like we could go down another level or two, and so just be open-minded to that. Yes, we can have like a fool's rally and then like come back down as well. Yes, that is possible. We do have to watch this space. Maybe XRP is trying to tell us something. Like maybe XRP is trying to say like if you're a high cap, like you can pump a little bit. I mean, maybe we can't reach like these targeted moves. Maybe that's going to take a year to play out or whatever. But, maybe you can at least break out of your downtrend, like your macro downtrend. And so maybe XRP is showing us the way. But, you know, I think XRP has a different situation than Bitcoin. I don't, because of its lawsuit and all that stuff. However, I have pointed out in the past that we do have uh, you know, this kind of structure right here. And look at that, that's pretty interesting. This line right here actually does point down to the measured move of that head and shoulders. So, I mean, yeah, could we pop up and then break down to these levels? Yeah, I mean, it is possible, guys. Like, we could pop up and then break down as the retest. Okay, so, I'm not going to be a perma bear. I'm not going to be a perma bear. We could have a little relief rally or something, a little, mean average reversion, right? Getting back to the average price, something like that after all of this dumping. But, just be careful, guys. Like, the setup isn't great. Okay, it's not great, and we're not meeting the thresholds that we need to meet. If you sense that I may be stalling a little bit for time, we do have 10 minutes left in the day. Let's go ahead and go over to Ethereum. And Ethereum also failing to meet its MACD, basically where it needs to have for continuation to the upside. It's failing to get on top of that. It does have its daily Stokes, so Ethereum has a chance. But I mean, it just looks like it wants to revisit $1,000. Like this thing, I mean, it looks like it wants to go lower to me. I don't know how to explain that in any other way except that, like, unless we really get into some bull market mode, or recapture these, like at least these levels up here, like this thing's probably going to go down lower. It started to break down already, okay? Like, look, let's go over to the CME on Ethereum, and you can see, once you broke, certain levels, once you tapped into it, right? I mean, there's a good chance that you're going to just kind of explore that a little bit, right? Or at least build in a floor. And so do I think like this is just going to make a V-shaped recovery to the upside? No. But if you look at Bitcoin, like you would think that that's what's possible. Like if you listen to the bulls who are looking at Bitcoin, like and like a run to 25K or above, and then a run to 30K, right? I mean, does Ethereum look like it wants to do that? I mean, maybe they could be taking turns, right? Some type of really mass manipulation in the market where they just like put all their money into Ethereum and then they put all their money into Bitcoin and they just take turns like that, just shuffling the money around like some type of street scam where there's a ball under the cup and they just like shuffling the cups around and it's like a Ponzi and you know like, like you always lose like if you're like taking part of this Ponzi, like this kind of like scam game, right, on the street. Like that could be what's happening. But it's just this doesn't look beautiful to me, right? It doesn't look beautiful at all. So, I mean, let's watch this space. I don't see it capturing any of the momentum it needs to even think bullishly whatsoever. And with stocks positioned like this, right? As long as stocks are under 3,800, right? And definitely if they're under 3730, right? Like I don't know, guys. I just don't feel hopeful about this situation, okay? And the overvalue of American stocks compared to the rest of the world, it just like something has to give. Like something has to give. And look at this trend line. Like like we're not bouncing, guys. Like so what is this going to do? Like this is going to do the same thing it always does. It's going to come down here, right? And price action is going to find some floor in this area probably. And then we're going to do it either again or we're going to actually have a floor, okay? Like I don't know what else to say. Like that's just my opinion, okay? It's not confirmed, but that's my opinion and we are meeting the conditions for that, okay? So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the weekend's coming up on crypto. There could be a lot of shenanigans, low liquidity. Market makers can push things all around in the market, and it could still not be real. I mean, the stock market is going to be more real than crypto. Like, crypto is just like fantasy land sometimes. DXY, I mean, look at this thing. I mean, it's just, like, look how much higher we pushed up just since the last time I was talking about it, right? I was saying this was just a fake out. We were going to push up. We could push up to my number of 114 and we could push up to 118, maybe even 120. Like we can get into this area, right? Before we end up really turning around. And like here we are now, like just suppressing the whole market. Why would that be good for crypto? Like, why would crypto be pumping if the dollar is continuing to skyrocket like this? I can't see it happening, guys. I feel like these are fake outs. Feel like they're trying to get you trapped into longs, you know? And look at the volatility, like it's spiking up. So yeah, I mean maybe we could come back down here because we did hit that level, right? I mentioned like if we hit this level, we could have a pullback all the way to the bottom again. And maybe we could have another fake out to the downside, right? Fill out this kind of CME gap on the VIX. Maybe this type of a drop filling in that gap and then going up, like maybe that could be what allows Bitcoin to break out of its downtrend, right? As the VIX falls, maybe, right, to fill in its CME gap on the VIX, like maybe Bitcoin pumps, breaks up here, and then the VIX like maxes out at its bottom there, it turns around, and then all of these risk on assets, they also turn around, and then Bitcoin checks back on its downtrend. So it basically like it retests the bottom of its downtrend, and it can get to any of these levels on the retest. So I'm just putting this as a hypothesis, okay? So maybe Bitcoin breaks out on a VIX falling, on the volatility falling, and then it checks back like a retest of the breakout at a lower level because it is a bear market. So it can be one of these bear market retests where it's not a bullish retest, but it's kind of a bearish retest. And then we just kind of like grind it out, right? Either pump or grind it out. And make that accumulation pattern official. Let's go ahead and take a look at USDT. So USDT, just again, just chopping around in like this kind of diverging lines that I put out here. And so, this thing can, again, like there's a hypothetical top limit that I set up, right? Based upon a projection using this point as a radiating projection point. And so I do think that if we do have a final capitulation, we could come back and test this line again, have, some bearish divergence, and then the bull market could be back on, right? Like basically, like yeah, like we could do something like this or whatever, and then maybe Bitcoin pumps, but then suddenly like something in the market goes crazy, like we get all the way up here, maximum capitulation, mid 2023, like we start chopping back down and bull market's back on, okay? And then what's going to happen? Like USDT comes all the way down here, right? All the way down here, and this was your bull run, okay? Bull run, bear market, bear market, bear market, right? So, I mean, there could be starts, there could be fits and starts, to this thing, but something like that. I could envision that. Yeah. And I mean, God, the dollar has to stop at some point, guys. Like it just can't go forever. Okay? It just can't go straight up, guys. Like it has to turn around at some point. You can start seeing other countries, they're starting to fight back by increasing their interest rates, but it's like doing nothing. Like the dollar is just dominating. Just everyone wants the dollar. Nobody wants to be in anything else. They only want to be in the dollar in the world. The whole world wants to be in dollars. It's just crazy. It's like you have your own currency. Why are you getting so many? Why are you trying to pick up so many dollars? Like just buy your own currency. No, they want dollars. They don't want their currency. They don't like their currency. Their currency is garbage. The people leading their countries are worse than the people leading our countries, okay? Like the US dollar is showing strength for a reason. Like as bad as Jerome Powell is, as you know, you know, whether you hate Trump or you hate Biden, like as stupid as our politicians can be, as fuddy-duddy, as just ridiculous clowns that they can be, right? Like we're still doing it better than most of the world. And so people are just fleeing to dollars. Okay, guys. I'm gonna end that here. Guys, that was your alpha for the day. I really don't know what to say about, are we going to really challenge this zone? Just we have 2 minutes to close, so I might as well just hang on for like another 2 minutes and just see, like, do we get some wild pump above 19,400? Some wild pump above 19,800. And if we don't get that, right, this is the bulls, right? See this wick right here? This is the bulls trying to reach those goals that I set for us. Like we have to get above those numbers, and the bulls know it, and they're not able to do it, right? They're not able to do it. So I don't know, like what's something that we can look at? Let's just look at our coins, okay? So as Bitcoin was kind of pumping today, right? This kind of scam pumps, right? Like as Bitcoin was pumping, you can see Zilliqa just pumping inside of its wedge, also not on top of its momentum zone. It would have broken out of this wedge and sat on top of it. That would have been the sign from Zilliqa that yeah, bull mode back on Zilliqa, right? Didn't do it, can still break down again, and then we can try again. We'll update all the zones, okay? Like it's okay. It's a nice move for the day, but is that anything more than a scam until it like takes out its momentum zones, right? And sits on top? No, right? How about ADA? Like it attempted and it got totally rejected. Okay? So nice pump by ADA. It's sitting on top of its like little wedge that it has here. Let's go to a 4 hour. Like it's sitting on top of this a wedge, like it busted out and then it's sitting on top of it. Um, maybe I could draw this a little better. Like this. Like if we actually I don't know, man. I think TradingView just messes with our lines, man. Because I swear, like when I draw these lines, like I'm not sloppy about it. So how come they're like suddenly off, like when I jump around to a different time, to a different time frame, and then it like stays off for some reason. Anyway, like this trend, like we attempted to break out, but it's just like a wick, and then we fell back into the wedge. Like this thing could easily drop back down, and so Ada's not where I need to see it to be, right? Cadena, right? Look at this great attempt by Cadena. Like Cadena, like this has like a wedge within a wedge, and Cadena actually broke out of this internal wedge or this internal channel, whatever you want to call it. Like just something going on there, right? There's some type of like channel right here. You could call it a channel, right? Like that. See that? So Cadena had some type of a channel thing going on here, and it broke out. And now we're going to see, can it sit on top of this? And if it does, look, Cadena is actually above its momentum zone. Oh, that was a nice drop. What the heck? Anyway, this thing is just like it's going for it. Like it's trying. Like this is the time when I can say like, oh, Cadena, like you look like you're doing something that you should be doing, right? But then I look at like where the majority of the price action comes at, and I just think, yeah, but even so, I still want to see us above $1.49, right? Like just personally, I'd like to see us above $1.49, sitting up here. Like I'm not really too interested underneath there, because I've seen how this thing works in the past. Like it does little breakouts and then it just falls back down. So we got a little breakout here. The measured move was up here. Like it only got here, and then it like broke back down. So are we gonna do the same thing? Like the measured move, or whatever could, our target should be up here for bullishness, but then it just like fizzles out and comes back down and then like continues to chop down. Like, is this what Kadena does? Like, I don't know. So I want to see it above, $1.49, $1.50, sitting there, kind of chilling out, kind of grinding its way up. This could be a fake out, just in my opinion. Okay, but it is doing what it needs to do. So this is a little bit better than the other ones. CRV also did like doing what it needs to do. Like it pumped up, sitting above the Stoke, but it failed to recapture its momentum zone. So fail, right? Just kind of chopping down. Could it pump up to the top of this area, like just grind it up, right? And still fail? Yeah. And come back down here. Yeah, you could imagine just pumping up to here and then dropping. Flux, right? What's Flux doing? Like same thing, guys. Like it's not in its momentum zone. It's just grinding its way down. It's attempting to break out of this channel right now. Right? It's like attempting to. So nice try on the 4 hours. See what it can do. Maybe it found a little spot, to kind of grind out here. So that's promising. We can keep a watch of that. It's just below the momentum it needs to hold, and so like my expectation would still be that it probably grinds down. But we can watch this. This is a little breakout, so we can watch it, right? Give it the benefit of the doubt, just like Kadena and CRV. XRP. So XRP is cool. I mean, it continued to pump. If you look at my XRP video in the comments section, I did like make a little executive summary where I mentioned like it could probably pump to 55 to 60 and then it would have its pullback. Like it wasn't just from when I made the video at 48, but it was likely to pump to 55 to 60 and then have a pullback. And so it did. Unfortunately, it didn't come back down to where I wanted it to come back down, but this thing has been operating pretty much on the 4 hour. So if you are trading, XRP, I mean, the 4 hour would probably be a good, time frame to be looking at because you can see the structure pretty well here. The hour, it's just a little bit noisier, but still pretty good. You might just get a little bit of noise. Maybe the 2 hour, pretty clean. So anywhere between the 2 hour and the 4 hour is a pretty clean signal on XRP. And using that, so I'll just be on the 3 hour here. Using that, we can kind of see that you are pretty overheated. I mean, there is a chance for continuation, okay? Like, there is, Let's go to the hour. Lots of bullish drives down here. Of course, you already saw that. It's pumping, right? Let's go to the 4 hour. I mean, it's just doing its thing, guys. Unfortunately, it didn't have the pullback to the area because I was considering that at 48, but then having pumped up to 55, and it could have gone to 60, but having pumped up to 55, you kind of have to adjust this zone up a little bit because these pullbacks, they tend to be of a certain magnitude. They don't tend to be 100% retracements. So if you do want to capture the small moves, right? Like this could have been a nice, 10% move, then you're going to want to basically adjust your zones according to wherever you pump. When I made my video, we were only at 48, so I had to do a hypothetical pullback from there. But at 55, it's just a different question. I mean, we have to look back and see what the price action was doing back here. You can see there was a bit of a level here, right? I mean, I'm just going to be approximate. You can see there's a little bit of a level there, right? You can see there's this wick. I mean, I'm not going to be super precise or anything, just showing you like there's this kind of like zone of activity, you know, just in this little kind of middling area, right? You can see this little chop right here, not being perfect or anything. We can adjust that a little bit, right? See this wick, just adjust it a little bit, and you can see, right? Like if you want to figure out, look at that. I mean, it ended up being perfect. So like I didn't mean to make it perfect. It ended up being perfect. So once we broke past that 48 zone and went up to that 55 zone, then, you know, the pullback should have been to the next level down, and there was the next level right there. So that's your pullback essentially, right? You lose that, you go to the next one down, right? Which I didn't fine tune it, but could have been something down here or even down here, right? So guys, like this thing could continue to go. I'm not really interested in it unless it has a deeper retrace and then starts accumulating. But that's because I have a theory of the market that we're not done dumping. Okay, like if you have a theory of the market that we're done dumping and just like up from here, then do whatever you want to do with XRP. Okay, because if that scenario is true, then it would just continue to go. Like it's done it before, it could do it again. But for me, I believe like this is kind of just a breakout, and then it needs a retest, and then it's gonna go. Okay, that's just my opinion. Let's go back to a Bitcoin, and no, we did not close where we needed to close, right? So, in my opinion, that's bearish, or at least the bearish conditions have kind of free reign. Okay, like we could get on top of this, but we could still be bearish. Let's go ahead and go to the 2-day. So 19.4, 25. $19.35. Yep, this could come down just a little bit. 19.119. So that's nice. Our MACD dropped a bit, but Stokes is pretty much the same. You know, and I mean, it should be common sense. Like this level right here with the Stokes, 19.35, and this is a fresh reading, right? So just freshly baked, right? So it aligns with exactly the top of our downtrend. Like we have to break on top of this, but we failed to do it yesterday, and so that suggested continuation to the downside, right? We failed to do it for our 2-day measurement, and so that suggests continuation to the downside. We've got a little bit of indecision on the new day, but I don't know, guys. I don't know. Doesn't look good to me. I mean, the weekly Stokes is pointed down. 5-day Stokes still pointed down. I mean, really close. Really close. 19,500 basically. It closes in 4 days. So 5-day has some hopium, right? Daily. Still pointed down, really close, 19,350. That makes sense, right? 12-hour pointed up, all right. 4-hour pointed up. 1 hour pointed up. Okay, so I mean, there's some hopium. We could pump, everything through the 4-hour seems pretty optimistic, but everything for the daily and above is, pretty much pointing down or like right at that line. Like you really need to break out of this downtrend soon. Otherwise, those higher time frames, they're going to take over and they're going to slap you down, guys. Okay. That was your alpha for the day. Stay safe and happy trading.